This is a message for newly redundant senior managers and entrepreneurs who are now finding themselves out of work. What has just happened to you happened to me several years ago in the last recession. So I speak from bitter experience. Endless talk by government ministers about encouraging people to get off benefit is just humbug. Ministers know perfectly well that trying to create your own work will unavoidably be against the regulations in some way or another, and therefore potentially criminal. But they dare not tell you. The regulations actually say that a claimant must be, quote, solely dependent on the state, unquote. So be warned. Be very careful about your use of the benefits system while you're trying to get back to work, because it will as soon destroy you as help you. Benefit staff won't understand you or where you're coming from. They share two very unhelpful, unspoken characteristics: a despicable envy of what you had, and the squalid satisfaction of knowing that you've just lost it all. They will treat you with little or no respect. I was one of thousands of people in their offices last time around, and they simply didn't know what to do with us. They didn't know what to say, they didn't know what to offer. And most of us, frankly, wouldn't have employed them in different circumstances, and they seemed to sense that. Their first and only objective was to get us out of their offices. Like thousands of others, I was told that there were no jobs suitable for me and I should start another business. To help, they suggested I go on a course run by two 20-year-olds to learn about business management. As soon as I asked for the credentials of those 20-year-olds, the offer was withdrawn and I was told I was being uncooperative. When I was encouraged to start my own business, I was not told anything about the limitations put on people on benefit or trying to create their own employment. I was not given the relevant forms. I didn't even learn that they existed. They later proved to be a catastrophic omission for which the benefits agency took no responsibility whatsoever. Neither was I told the patently absurd limit on potentially self-employed claimants, that they can work only 16 hours a week, even if the time is unpaid. When asked later whether that included thinking time or travelling time, I got no definitive answer. Nor did the agency explain how such ludicrous requirements were to be monitored or checked. The application and interpretation of these utterly unrealistic regulations is chaotic and dangerous. During my subsequent court case, a senior officer of the DWP said on oath that different officials make different decisions when they interpret the regulations, even when faced with identical claimant circumstances. Any one of those decisions could later turn out to be wrong and potentially with catastrophic consequences for a claimant. So my advice is simply to get everything written down at the time. And if they won't provide you with a record of a meeting, send them a letter and invite corrections. Tell them the absence of a reply or any corrections will be taken as agreement. Keep absolutely everything, emails as well as letters, and make contemporaneous notes of every telephone conversation. Don't trust or rely on a single word that is said to you. Also be aware that the officials who interview you are not the decision makers. They are merely messengers. And this, of course, is another potential source of inconsistent decisions which work against you. Now I want to say a brief word about gambling, which a lot of people use as a means of trying to generate additional funds. And I'm talking about the horses and any other financial futures, for example. That same expert witness from the DWP said at my trial that the receipt of gambling winnings to pay off debts would be allowed while you were on benefit. But later in her evidence, she said she wasn't sure. So how was I supposed to know? The Inland Revenue, on the other hand, says that gambling winnings are not taxable, but then nor are losses deductible. However, during my trial, it emerged that the DWP takes a different view. So much for New Labour's so-called joined-up government. Two departments in the same government apparently take totally opposite views on the same facts and then expect ordinary people to anticipate and check these blatant contradictions. I was told I should have phoned up daily, even hourly, if I had an open position that was doing well, because my benefit might have become invalid. But next day, having lost it all on a similar or different position, I would have to sign on again as a new claimant. Overall, I learnt the hard way that there is little anyone can do on benefit to get themselves off without endangering their liberty. Now, there are a few other dangers to avoid as well. Be aware that pensioners can be recipients of income support even though they're over 65. So they must declare the pension to the benefits agency even though that agency is part of a government system which is paying their pension in the first place. I did tell you there was no joined-up government. Be aware too that council staff and councils have targets to meet in saving benefit payments. The DWP now claims that staff no longer benefit as individuals, but the councils still do. Finally, don't assume that any official you meet understands anything about starting a business, let alone running it profitably and efficiently. There will be a huge culture gap between them and you, and a dangerous lack of comprehension. However simply you might explain the facts of life about the needs and risks involved. They won't know the differences between money, income, margins, drawings, reimbursements, turnover, gross profit, net profit, or taxable income. They won't understand that money can be a means of exchange, a store of wealth, and a measure of economic growth, and that they're all different. Neither will they know what is involved in starting a business, from the idea to the research, then from the resources and the people to the launch and the cash that needed to stay afloat until the business is self-funding. Nor will they have any idea about winning customers, building trust, building relationships with customers and suppliers. You doubt what I'm saying? Well, in the 2009 edition of Archibald, which is the Barrister's Legal Bible, the preface says that after 11 years in office, the Labour government's criminal statute book is a disgrace. Benefits legislation is chaotic. So be careful. Be very careful. And good luck. You're going to need it.